the biggest, most transformational decision and action that I took was something called me to sign up to do this 20,000-foot volcano climb in Ecuador. And it was like, I've never done anything like that, right? I've always been into personal fitness, going to the gym, but I never did anything competitive. And it was like this beacon that was calling me. And so I decided to sign up for this climb, and it involved altitude. So you had to train, like you couldn't just show up and try this thing. You had to train 3 months ahead. And part of me didn't realize when I signed up, like what it was. And then when I learned what it actually was, I was like, oh my God, I've made a huge mistake.
You know what's funny is I would get the emails about these trips, and like I've gotten soft in my old age, and I'm like, that sounds like a terrible thing. There is no part of me that wants to experience that discomfort. I've got enough growth in my life right now.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel that way now. I'm very clear that this was life show. Like it was just like, I needed to do this. Right?
When was this?
This was almost 2 years ago to the day. We climbed on the last day of February and summited on the first day of March 2 years ago. And fast forward, like I went through the training, never thought that I would actually summit, but it was the exercise of going through it that was very empowering. And the volcano climb itself, after a week of doing many, many other things, was this experience that I had of what I now realize is like true embodiment, right? And I didn't also know what embodiment meant for a long time. But what happened was you start this climb in the dark at midnight, and because you have to summit before you're very close to the equator, and you have to summit before it gets too hot and everything starts to melt.
This already sounds terrible. Go on.
Yeah, it is terrible. So you're like stuffed full of like carby foods, and then you're told to try and sleep, but you can't sleep because it's freezing and you have to do this thing, right? So you wake up and you haven't slept, but then, you start trudging up this volcano that's very steep, very slippery. And within 10 minutes, I couldn't I was just like not able to keep up. And I was like dying within 10 minutes thinking, I can't do this. This is too hard. Like, how am I going to do this? Right. And so every part of me was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And like thinking like, I'm going to have to stop. Right. But basically what happened was I was partnered up, and we were told 2 days prior to that, be careful who you partner up with, because you get one guide for two people. And if one person turns around, your partner's turning around.
Right.
And so I had been whining a lot about, I don't know if I could do this. And so I wasn't like the most optimal partner choice. And so when I had asked my friend if she'd be my partner, she's like, yes, but I have to tell you, like my will to summit is a 9 out of 10. And because I'm such a people pleaser, right? I remember thinking like, oh shit, I cannot let her down. I cannot let this person not have what she wants. And quite honestly, people pleasing got me up 7/8 of that mountain. Like for the first 7 hours, I was dying, right? And the talk in my head was like, I hate this. I hate this. Why did I, like, it was just like, this is so hard. And I was begging for her to like, because she was having a hard time too. And she'd turn around and go, how are you doing, Catherine? I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'd be like, please say you want to turn around, right? And she's like, maybe we can just do a little bit more. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Anyways, but something happened 7/8 of the way. And we were an hour from the summit, and we were the last ones on the mountain. Other people were way ahead of us. We'd lost time because of things. But what happened was, as we were like going up, the first group was coming down, and they had summited. And when we were passing each other on the volcano, there was some energy exchange that happened, because I think in many people's minds, I was never going to make it. And so I remember a couple of the people coming down were like, oh my God, you're almost there. And I had this moment where I just connected eyes with one of the guys, and he was like all excited for me. And this lyrics to this song popped into my head that I had been telling my teenage daughter a couple months prior. She listened to Drake a lot. And one of the songs of Drake has, I can't remember his wife's name. She's on it saying, I didn't come this far just to come this far, right? And I remember hearing it going, that's what I'm going to say on the volcano, right? And I'd completely forgotten about it. But then when we locked eyes, I said, I didn't come this far just to come this far. And it was like this energy took over, right? And suddenly I was like, I am summoning, like, I don't even care if my partner wants to turn around. I'm doing this. And I know that I'm doing this, right? And things started happening really fast at that point where I got my own guide, because once the guides are like paid to summit people. So they'd summited that group. And so one of them just hooked himself onto me and he's like, okay, let's do it. Because if we miss that 1 hour window, we have to come down. And so he started like scampering up and I was following him and I was full of energy for the last hour. And so we finally get to the summit and we're waiting for my partner. And I'm sitting on the summit going, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I did this. But more incredulous for me was the fact that I realized how my mind lied to me the whole time. And it was like, I can't do this. This is too hard. Like I'm not capable, right? But my body could do it. And I was fine. I had more, I could keep climbing, right? And that was the experience of understanding that the mind lies and the body tells you the truth, right? And so that was a huge realization for me of like how much power I have in my body, right? And then fast forward 4 days and I'm home. I'm back in Toronto and I'm in my first meeting with my team. And I've been gone for 10 days. And within 15 minutes of that meeting, I am sucked back into this like just hopeless like problems and this and that. And everyone's looking at me for answers. And I just remember thinking like, how is it that I just climbed this volcano and now I feel exactly as bad as I did before I left? Like no answers. I feel completely powerless. And then I had this thought of there is a solution here. It's just that you weren't willing to do the hard thing it takes to make that decision and go through it, right?
Yeah.
And then it was this realization of, I can do hard things. I climbed that volcano and I can make these hard decisions. And that's when things started to tumble. And I made initially the first series of decisions around my business. And then a month later, it was my marriage. And I ended a 22-year marriage a month later. Was when the clarity came. The actual communication of that took more months. But it was a complete deconstruction because so many things in my life had gotten out of alignment and I wasn't willing I felt like I didn't have the courage to make those decisions. And then suddenly I found the courage, right?